With all the game-changing deals that have been completed so far, today I'll be grading the biggest NBA offseason trades in 2020. The Warriors doing their best to mimic Clay's production by signing Oubre Jr., new Sixer GM Daryl Morey finding a home for an awful contract in Horford while getting a solid return, and the Suns acquiring an all-time great point guard are just some of the trades that have shocked us. Stay tuned to see which trade's most impactful to their team's chances. If you're already subscribed, welcome back to D-Flow Hoops. If you're new here and a basketball fan interested in NBA rankings, predictions, and stories, please subscribe and click the bell so you get notified every time I post a new video, which is at least twice a week. 1 year after inking into a 4-year, $109 million contract, the Philadelphia 76ers are moving on from Al Horford, who completely underperformed in 2019-20. Horford's $27.5 million cap hit seemed untradeable, but new president of basketball operations Daryl Morey was able to shed the overpaid 34-year-old along with a lightly protected 2025 first-round pick and the number 34 pick in the 2020 NBA draft to the OKC Thunder for Danny Green and Terrence Ferguson. Philadelphia opens up $12 million of space with this deal for the 2021 season, and this deal marked the second time in a week that the three-time champion Danny Green was traded. But Horford was an awkward fit in a Sixer lineup that already included Joel Embiid, and the Sixers ranked 14th in the NBA in offensive efficiency, with Horford griping about his role publicly. Al said mid-season, quote-unquote, "I'm out there for the team and doing what I can to help us, but offensively, I'm very limited with the things that I can do, so I can't control that stuff." The fact that Philly was able to find a trade partner for Horford this fast is a massive organizational victory. Al's value is at a low point, but getting rid of his contract was the first major move under Daryl Morey, and what makes this an A-plus acquisition for Philly is the fact that they handled their priority of removing Al from the equation while only having to give up 2 draft picks, one of which is lightly protected and the other is a second-round pick. And maybe Danny Green's playoff shooting has been inconsistent these last 2 years, but he's a guy who knows his role, and at the very least, his veteran presence and title-winning experience should help the young Sixers. The Milwaukee Bucks have made their big move of the offseason, acquiring Drew Holiday from the New Orleans Pelicans in exchange for guards Eric Bledsoe and George Hill plus 3 first-round picks. And according to Woj, there's also going to be pick swaps involved. Milwaukee sacrifices their entire future in a thinly veiled attempt to try and get Giannis to sign a max extension, but in terms of the move for Holiday, at 30 years old, Drew's one of the league's best defenders and one of the top players on the trade market. Holiday's a massive upgrade on the other end of the court, as for 2 straight seasons, Milwaukee's dominant regular season offense has looked stilled and predictable against elite playoff defense. It needed more playmaking, more star power, and Holiday provides just that. Also, Drew just strengthens the Milwaukee Bucks' defensive identity, but by surrendering so many picks, Milwaukee has sent a message to their franchise player Giannis Antetokounmpo that they're all in on winning a championship next season. The Trailblazers acquire Robert Covington from the Rockets for Trevor Ariza and 2 first-round picks. Robert Covington's defensive versatility should provide the Trailblazers' defense with a much-needed boost. Covington doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective, and that's perfect for the Blazers' offense. Defensively last season, Portland ranked 27th in defensive rating. That's where Covington can change. He's not a one-on-one defensive specialist, but he's a first-class team defender and is extremely smart on that end while having a 7'2" wingspan. He should fit nicely spacing the floor out for Dame and CJ and making up for that backcourt's defensive mistakes. The first major domino of the offseason to fall was Chris Paul heading to Phoenix as the Suns swung a trade with the Oklahoma City Thunder for the future Hall of Fame point guard. Phoenix sent Ricky Rubio and Kelly Oubre Jr., who've already been shipped off by the Thunder in another trade, plus Ty Jerome, Jalen LeCue, and a 2022 first-round pick to OKC for Chris Paul and Abdul Nader. The Suns have missed the playoffs in every season since the departure of Amari Stoudemire in 2010, and they fell just short of breaking that drought in the bubble despite an 8-0 record in the seeding games. Adding CP3 was the biggest step the Suns could have taken towards making that postseason jump, because Chris may be towards the end of his NBA lifespan at 35 years of age, but he carried the Thunder like his prime self in the first round this past postseason. Paul averaged over 21 points, 7 boards, and 5 assists on 48.5% shooting in the Thunder's 7-game series loss to the Rockets. Paul's well known for the impact he has on younger guards on and off the court, from Eric Bledsoe with the Clippers to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last season in OKC. Booker's way more accomplished than either of those two, but he still stands to greatly benefit from spending the next few seasons with one of the best guards of his generation. Paul should also form a lethal pick-and-roll combo with DeAndre Ayton, so all around, a beautiful move for the Phoenix Suns. And I'm giving this win-now trade an A because the Suns are firmly back in the playoff mix. They've got one of the more impressive trios in the league with CP3, D-Book, and the beast in the middle, DA. Before Green was shipped to Philadelphia, he got traded by the Lakers along with a 2020 first-round pick, and the Lakers received the speedy Thunder point guard Dennis Schroeder in return. The Lakers were thin at the point guard spot last year, and the trade for Schroeder makes perfect sense. On a podcast with Chris Haynes, Anthony Davis called the Schroeder addition a great pickup and also said, quote-unquote, Dennis can easily win Sixth Man of the Year any given season. He played great alongside Chris Paul and Shai, and I think that he's tough. He shot the ball well this year, he can get in the paint, he can find guys, and he's very, very scrappy. Personally, I'm giving the Lakers an A in this deal. Ricky Rubio's going back to the Timberwolves where he started his career, and after Rubio was dealt to the Thunder in the CP3 trade, OKC moved Rubio in a deal where the Wolves gave up James Johnson and the rights to the 17th pick in the 2020 NBA draft to receive Ricky's services. Ricky was a big part of why the Suns went 8-0 in the bubble this past summer, but with his new team in Minneapolis, he's set to start next to D'Angelo Russell in the backcourt. It also should be interesting to see how he meshes with Cat and their most recent number 1 draft pick in Anthony Edwards. The Philadelphia 76ers traded guard Josh Richardson and the number 36 overall pick in Wednesday night's NBA draft to the Dallas Mavericks for Seth Curry. Curry was one of the more efficient three-point shooters in the NBA last year. The Sixers also drafted Kentucky guard Tyrese Maxey, which was a steal, as well as Arkansas's guard Isaiah Joe, clearly emphasizing perimeter scoring and shooting as the team looks to reverse the course of a very disappointing 2019-20. Big changes have come to Philadelphia. Daryl Morey surrounded Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons with a complimentary roster. Now it's on those two superstars to get it done. But while their new coach Doc Rivers will look to build the right system around these two stars, it's going to be very interesting to watch play out. Before the last major deal I'll deeply break down quickly, here's 3 other minor deals that happened. First, Trevor Ariza was traded to the Pistons after his initial move to Houston. Ariza was dealt to Detroit along with the 16th pick in the 2020 NBA draft, and the Houston Rockets got a future first-round pick in return. Ariza's been tossed around the league like a rag doll. Not too much to say about this one other than that. Next, the Brooklyn Nets have acquired guards Landry Shamet and Bruce Brown in a 3-team deal with the Pistons and Clippers that sends Luke Kennard to LA, but Shamet should be a nice shooting option around Durant and Irving for the Nets. And Portland acquires Boston's Enes Kanter in a 3-way deal with Memphis, sources tell ESPN. Memphis gets Mario Hezonja and the 30th pick Desmond Bane from a draft night deal as a part of the trade as well. The Celtics get a future Memphis draft consideration. Not sure what type of impact this has, given Kanter gets exposed guarding the pick and roll every time he steps on the court. But a move that could help the Warriors make up for Klay's injury and therefore swing the Western Conference playoff bracket is the Golden State Warriors acquiring Kelly Oubre Jr. from the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder will receive Golden State's 2021 first-round pick, but only if it falls between number 21 and number 30 overall, according to Woj. If it doesn't, the Warriors are going to send the Thunder 2 second-round picks. After the tragic news of Klay Thompson's second major injury in as many years, Bob Myers and the Warriors front office did an outstanding job finding a versatile offensive threat in Kelly Oubre Jr. Not only does he have elite style off the court like Klay, but Oubre shoots a ton of threes and is an excellent transition player. There's no replacing Klay, but ball fans in the Bay Area should be pretty excited about watching the rising soon-to-be 25-year-old 19-point-per-game scorer in Kelly Oubre Jr. rock a Warriors jersey. 2 shoutouts next video, but the Community Speaks question is, which trade is most impactful to the NBA standings? Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at DFlowHoops to be friends and to stay updated on the channel. Keep watching some of my recent uploads, but this was DFlow, and I'll see you next video.